Hello and welcome to another video by the Marketing Study Guide. In this video we're going to have a look at what is known as compensatory decision rules in consumer behavior. My name is Jeff and I'm a long-time marketing lecturer and practitioner. Now, to help understand where decision rules fit in, we need to know the buyer decision process. Chances are you've already covered this, where the consumer recognizes they have a need for a new product. They gather some information, either internally or externally sources, and then with this information they have to make a choice, and we call that they need to evaluate the alternatives. And that's before the purchase stage, and that helps them to choose which one. So they use one or more decision rules. So in this case we're going to have a look at what's known as compensatory decision making. Now, over here we've got non-compensatory decision approaches, and I have videos on each of those available that you can have a look for. These tend to look at a short list or a summary of attributes, and a poor attribute may not come through. Compensatory, as we can see, is far more analytical. Now, to help us understand the compensatory decision rule, we have a situation here where we're choosing 4 hotels, A, B, C, and D. We have key product attributes that we're looking for. We want it near the beach, in a big city, nice spacious rooms, etc. And we've scored each of those out of 10, sorry. There's 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 for how important it is to us. So the most important thing is having a big room, followed by great service, followed by a swimming pool. So that's what we're looking for. This is our ideal combination. And over here we have scored in our own mind the various hotels, and we've given a score out of 10. So 10 out of 10 is perfect, 3 and 4s out of 10 is not so good. Okay, so when using the compensatory decision rule, we're going to consider all the key attributes, okay, and we're going to weight them accordingly. It's a very analytical approach, and I'll show you how we do that. So what we're doing is assigning scores to an attribute, and again it's in our perception, it's from the consumer's viewpoint of how they rate them. So some consumers may go off to a website and use that, but many consumers will use their own judgment, and they will best judge the best product based on their own scoring. Okay, so before I showed you a list of compensatory and non-compensatory, it helps to understand what the distinction is. Here, compensatory, we're going to consider all attributes using a score. Strong scores for certain attributes can make up for, can catch up, compensate for weaker attributes. The way to think about that is like a sporting team. So you might have 2 or 3 great players in the team who can sort of cover for a couple of players who are just starting out, or just learning the game, or aren't that good. Okay, so the team works together. So in this case, in compensatory approach, we look at essentially the product from a whole. With the non-compensatory, and keep in mind there are videos for those separately, we generally look at selected attributes. And if one of those attributes that we're looking at is weak, then generally we rule those products out. Okay, there's no chance to catch up. I was looking for that, they don't have it. Like, in this case, it has a good view. That hotel doesn't have a good view. I'm not going to have a look at it, regardless of all the other wonderful attributes that it'll have. So up here is a more holistic approach. Down here is a very selective approach. Okay, so with the compensatory decision rule, there are actually 3 variations that we can use. They're all analytical. So the first one, we're going to use a yes-no type structure. I'll show you that. The second one, we're going to allocate simple points and just add them up. And the third approach, we're actually going to use a scoring model and work out weighted scores. So let's have a look at using examples. So the first is yes-no per attribute, and we want at least 8+ out of 10. So we start here, we're going to go through all of them. Near the beach, is that 8 out of 10? No. So that's a no. Is that 8 out of 10 or more? Yes, yes, no. So it's got 2 yeses. I'm using a smiley face and a cross for yes and no. and we just repeat no, 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 yes. And I've just added them all up there. All of these X's are below 7. The smiley faces are 7 or more. And then we just add them up. This has got 1 yes. This has got 3. This has got 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's got the most yeses, most points in that regard. So we're going to choose Hotel D. So that's the simplest way of using this technique. The second approach is to allocate some sort of point system. So the more important, the more points before. Before I just had, it was 1 for yes, 0 for no, essentially. Here we're going to go, 10's important, so maybe I score that a bit higher. So here it's scoring, that would have been a yes before, these would have been no's. If I go back and show you. So spacious rooms, no, no, yes, no. Here I'm going to say, hey, well that's my most important thing, so I'm going to give that 3 points. And then we just repeat it. Remember they've got to score 7 or more. So this is also important. So I'm going to score 3 there. I didn't score any service levels because they're all below 7, so there's no points. And so I'm going to do, if it's 10 out of 10, if it's 9 out of 10, it's 8 out of 10. That's really important to me. So I'm going to give anything that ticks the box there 3 points. In the middle, 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, etc. They're fairly important, so I'm going to give them 2 points. And anything below that, if they score 7 or more, I'm going to give them 1 point. So here, for example, that was the only yes, and it's for views, so it's only going to get 1 point. And I just add these up, 2, 3, 1, 6 points, 5 points, and these add up to 8 points. So again, using this approach, weighting the points rather than a simple yes, no, I end up with Hotel D. And the third approach is probably covered in some of the textbooks. It's actually a weighted scoring model. So I'm actually going to add a lot. Okay, so what I've done is we had the attributes before, we had the importance attributes of the attributes, we had the scores, A, B, I've got branded their hotels, so you can see. And what I'm doing is now multiplying. So 5 times 6, so for that brand, it scores 30 points. Okay, for brand B, Hotel B, that's 5 in importance, but they get 8 out of 10. I'm going to multiply 5 by 8, gives me 40 points. 5 times 10 equals 50. So that's all it's doing, and each attribute, 6 times 4, 6 times 5. And you can do this on a spreadsheet. It's probably a lot easier than do it manually. And what I do is I score all those, and I just add them up. So Hotel A has a total score of 219, 336, and again, Hotel D has the highest score, 349, and that becomes our winner. So what we do is we first start with our brands. We're looking at the attributes we're looking at, and we need to score them. We need to score how important is each attribute out of 10 or another out of another level. What scoring approach am I going to use? A simple yes, no, 3 points for good, 2 points for moderately good, or a weighted thing. And generally, we will always get one outcome. Okay, so very much thanks for watching. Keep in mind there are other videos covering all the other decision rules for consumer behavior. And good luck with your studies.